fat. Okay? Watch this.
Hey, sweetie. Hey, here's your burger.
I'm glad you're back. Does this make me look fat?
On second thought, I'll go make you a salad.
Does this make me look fat?
Well, I wouldn't say skinny.
Does this shirt make me look fat?
Yes. Do you want my honest opinion? I thought our treadmill looked lonely.
No, just
no,
don't.
Are you pregnant? I'm gonna be a dad!
Babe, does this make me look fat?
Baby, look at me. You look great. You look even better than you did on our wedding day. And guess what? You're even more beautiful on the inside. Besides, the dryer probably shrank all your clothes anyways.
Oh. Any of you ever been guilty of just saying the wrong thing? Oh, man. Well, transparency can be healing. And that's where we ultimately want to go, to that place of healing. Remember that verse? Reckless words pierce like swords. The end of that verse says this, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Words can bring healing. What you say can restore a relationship with your child, with a friend, with your spouse. Words can bring healing. And ultimately, that's where we all want to go in our relationships. You know, there's such a liberating feeling when you can open up yourself to someone else and they can open up to you and realize that we're free to do that. I don't have to cover up. I don't have to wear a mask when I'm with you. I don't have to hide who I really am. You're not going to judge me if I say something that doesn't sound the best. I can process my issues. See, a lot of it is I just need to get it out there. And I want to process it with you. Don't judge me. Don't make me feel worse than I already feel. And sometimes there's an issue in your life where you just long for a safe place to share the bad thing you did. You know, I know, and I would have to guess there's some folks in here who had an affair issue in a marriage. And you wonder, how in the world am I going to tell my wife or husband that I broke our marriage vows? My husband is over in Iraq or Afghanistan, and I did something I'm really ashamed of, but I just can't tell him because it's going to destroy our marriage. How am I going to do it? Because by holding it in, oftentimes it just eats away at us, just gnaws away, and we long to be forgiven of that and absolve it, but we don't know if we ever can, and so we have these secrets we tuck away and say, I'm just going to keep it secret the rest of my life till the day I die. But it's so liberating to love someone enough to say, okay, I'm not proud of this, but this is who I am, and this is what I did, and I need your grace. You know, I've known couples who've actually worked through things like adultery, and their marriage has actually gone to deeper levels because they've communicated at a much deeper level than they ever communicated before. They look back at the issues that maybe caused it or prompted it or led to it. They look at the things they've neglected, and they begin to talk about things that they just avoided talking about before, but now they say, you know what, we treasure the relationship so much, we're willing to talk about these issues. And so transparency can be very healing in our relationships. If you're married, you probably built up a whole history over the course of your marriage of mistakes and errors in this area of communication. I'm not proud to admit that after 27 and a half years of marriage, Julie and I still get in disagreements, and sometimes they lead to fights, and sometimes they're over just the stupidest things. But you know, we're growing, and we're learning. And you know, men and women are different. You've probably heard the book, Men Are From Venus, or Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, that we're different, and bringing us together is a challenge. But we're trying to learn to understand each other better. And so Julie's going to come up here in a moment. And while she's coming up here, I want you to watch that couple again as they deal with a problem that many of us deal with of what is my spouse hearing when I say these words. So watch your screens again.
Can you please help me a little bit, please? Can you please help me clean up? Literally just this little bit, please.
Hey, would you mind doing laundry today? Hey, would you mind doing your job as a woman and getting the laundry done, woman?
Hey, babe. You want to watch a chick flick with me tonight? You want to waste 2 hours of your life tonight and give all your guy friends a reason to make fun of you? Can you just take the catch up sometime tonight?
Yeah, right after I finish. Yeah, right after I finish forgetting.
Are you almost done? You have 5 seconds. 4.
Hey, you gonna get all that? Whoa, Tubby, why don't you save some for the rest of us?
Nothing is wrong, Brandon. Oh, there's a storm coming. And the best part is, you have no idea what's in store for you.
Hey, it's 3. I thought you said you were gonna go running at 2. I thought you told me an hour ago you were gonna finally start getting back into shape.
I'm so thankful for a husband that listens to me and cares about everything that I have to say.
That could be this afternoon during the Super Bowl, okay? Oh, this is last week we had talked about discipline.
Yeah, I thought just after last week what you said, I might need a little help today to make sure you behave. So I'm just going to set that there, just a reminder that
I'll be really nice, okay?
you might want to behave today.
I will. Well, we want to talk about communication, and actually what I want to do is go back through those principles we talked about from the scripture about marriage and unity and transparency, and just apply them to our lives and how we've had to work on those areas. So the first one is that, excuse me, once you bring kids into the family, oftentimes I've seen so many couples, and we were in that place too, focus so much attention on the kids that they consume every minute of your time when they're awake and all of your energy, that there's not much left for you as a couple. I've known couples who really don't do anything without their kids. And so for the time they bring the first one into their family till the time the last one graduates, their life is consumed with their kids. And then they're left with each other and they become strangers. So would you share how we've made our marriage a top priority for us?
Well, it is true that our children are a blessing, but they are also very demanding. And some of that is just the nature of toddlers or teenagers, that they do need a lot of our time and attention. But we have to remember, like Darren said earlier, that we came into this marriage together, and then there were children. So we don't do our children any justice by teaching them that they're the center of our attention all the time. There's certain things that we have done in our marriage to prioritize each other. It's always a good example to our children when we put each other first. We did a parenting class when we were early married called Growing Kids God's Way. And there were a lot of details in that parenting style, but one thing that I took away with it was a tool called the interrupt rule. And it goes something like this. Your child wants your attention and does, "Dad, Dad." Or you're in Walmart and the kid says 12,000 times, "Mom," and you're just sick of it. So the interrupt rule goes something like this. And you wait. And then you answer that child. You get they've gotten your attention, and that you know that they need your attention, and you've taught them that they need to wait and be respectful, and then you will give them their attention. It also shows your spouse that, quite honestly, they're priority too. You're not always running to the child first. I think sometimes as women, we're so busy with so many details with our home, and our brains just process so many details at once, that many times our husbands are on second place in our home, and that doesn't feel good to them, and it certainly doesn't teach our children any good disciplines.
I think it happens often because a dad will be at work, sometimes away from home for 8 or 10 hours, or he's off in the field, TDY, for 9 months, comes back, and mom's made such a habit for hours and hours or days and days of making the kids a priority that he's like on the waiting list. And when I get time to get around to you, I will. And I don't think you can do that. I think you married your spouse, and you need to put them first, and you need to signal to the kids that mom and dad are first. I remember a time when Julie and I were dating. She had a little girl that she was raising, and there was a time when, early in our relationship, that little girl wedged her way in between us one day when we were having a conversation because she wanted to be the center of attention. And I picked her up, and I placed her right over here, and I scooted closer to Julie, and I says, "We're talking right now." And I know that some of you say, "That sounds pretty mean." It wasn't. It was, I wanted Julie to know she is priority, and I want to know I was her priority. We practiced date nights through our marriage, and that's a time where you just block off a night and say, that's for us, to get away from the house. I know sometimes when you have little kids, The feeling is we can't leave them at home, or we can't trust them with a sitter, or it's not going to be healthy. They're going to scream all night. And sometimes they have to cry when you leave them in the nursery or leave them with the babysitter. But we have to be healthy to be the kind of parents you need us to be. And if we don't get time away by ourselves, we're not going to be happy parents. Sometimes we've actually gone on trips, vacations, without our kids.
Yes.
And that's okay.
Try it. It's wonderful.
We went on our 10th anniversary. We went to Mexico for our 10th anniversary, left our kids here, and we felt fine. We had a good time just for us together, and we become better parents as a result of this. Well, how has communication been critical for becoming one, to becoming unified?
Well, we found out early in our marriage that if we really wanted to have unity, we needed to be able to talk about the big issues together and be in agreement with each other. So the big issues might be financial issues like what home we're going to buy, what car we're going to buy, how are we going to spend those large dollar items within our budget. We've even come together all through our marriage about our giving and our whether we're giving to missions or tithing or whatever we're giving to. And we have found that the Lord has honored that every single time. We'll come together even sometimes separately in prayer, and then we'll come back together and talk about it. And the Lord has confirmed within each other the same exact decision. And so we just value that the Lord blesses us in that way. Certainly in the areas of discipline, we've had to make agreements over discipline. Darren obviously is a little bit more of a strict disciplinarian.
What?
Yes, you are. And I, unfortunately, especially in the early part of being a mom, I wanted my children to love me and everybody make nicey in the house and not have any arguments. And so I had to learn how to be consistent in love and not let the kids walk all over me.
It's interesting that God brings two people together, they kind of harmonize, and yet you find out over time, we're so different in some areas. You know, one's real punctual, one's late, one's a saver, one's a spender, one's strict, one's more lenient. You guys find that true in your marriage too? And then you go, why in the world are we at such an odd place? And I think God's saying because both of you are extremes, you need to come together a little bit more. And one of the things that's helped us as a couple to find that unity is to have some biblical guidance of what is the center ground that we need to find agreement on. And so we've been involved in marriage conferences, marriage classes. I urge you to add that to your agenda. You spend thousands of dollars for a wedding, and then you start saying, I don't know, we can't afford $200 for a marriage retreat. What? You spent $10,000 on a wedding, and you'll spend more money on a set of tires than you do for your marriage. So go to that class, go to that family life conference, do something, invest in your marriage. So our small group has done a number of studies. We've done Love and Respect was a course that we went through as a couple, learned a lot through that. In fact, our church is offering a course coming up this month. Barry Dodson, one of our elders, and his wife Susan, they'll be in the foyer after service, but they are teaching a class called Sacred Marriage. It will change your marriage. It'll allow you to talk about things that maybe you've never talked about before and have a new perspective, a biblical perspective on marriage. Our small group has done Financial Peace University, and that's been a great thing for us to get on the same page with our finances. Did you know that finances are one of the top issues that cause conflict in a marriage? And many couples decide that we can't manage it together, so you manage your money, I'll manage my money. But Financial Peace University tells you how to have biblical principles where you can manage money together, and allows you a chance to talk through those and say, do we agree with those or do we not? And so that class is coming up here as a church. You can read the information there. It's also in your bulletin. But I would urge you, it's worth every couple going through Financial Peace University. I know it's like $100 for the kit. It's some of the best financial advice you'll ever get. It will set you on a path that will bless you for the rest of your marriage life. So just let God keep speaking his truth in your marriage and allow that to be a subject of conversation. That'll bring you together to that place of unity. Well, transparency sounds like a great goal, but what if you've experienced like hurt or pain in your life? How do you learn to trust again and to go to that place of opening up to someone else?
Well, I know Darren shared a little bit about the dysfunctional family he grew up in, and I would be willing to bet that a large portion of us in this room have grown up in dysfunctional families. I grew up with a single mother, no father around, and a mother who was very wounded in her own way and at times very brutal and violent. And so my siblings and I grew up in an atmosphere that didn't teach us how to be loved, didn't teach us that we were worth anything or would ever accomplish anything. And so you